If you and your family have ever moved, you know that there's something exciting about setting out for a new destination and getting to know a new place as home. That said, it can also be very frightening and risky and uncomfortable, especially at first. Not too long after the New World was discovered, certain brave European people decided, for one reason or another, that they wanted not just to see the New World or explore it for a brief time, but to stay there permanently and call it home. Known as colonists, these people came by the shipload, enduring the harsh trip across the Atlantic and setting up tiny little neighborhoods in the New World called settlements. Colonists from the nation of England in particular made several attempts at settling the New World, each group coming for its own specific reason. English colonists established their first settlement in 1585, naming it Roanoke. They hoped that settling this land in modern-day North Carolina would increase the power of the English government. Unfortunately, because they neglected to bring an appropriate number of farmers with them, they wound up with very little food on their plates and began to starve. Their relationships with some of the local Native American tribes also went sour, and violent conflict broke out between the colonists and their neighbors. The story of Roanoke ends in mystery. Just a few years after the settlement was begun, an English ship hoping to check up on the colonists at Roanoke sailed over to find that they had completely disappeared. All that remained of them was a strange word carved into the side of a gatepost, Croatoan. Today there are still many theories for what that word might mean and for what came of the settlement at Roanoke. Unlike Roanoke, the second English settlement at Jamestown survived and has lasted until the present day, now a city in Virginia. Built in 1607 as a means of gaining new wealth for the English nation, it was located on a peninsula, which the colonists believed would make it easy to defend. Unfortunately, the wet marsh environment of the peninsula was a perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes, whose deadly diseases wiped out many colonists. As if that weren't enough, violent conflict with local Native American tribes took more lives, and during one of the first winters at Jamestown, when hunger was rampant, all but a few of the colonists died in what is now known as the Starving Time. Miraculously, the Jamestown settlement survived, and a few years later things took a turn for the better when colonists began to cultivate tobacco. This cash crop, so popular with Europeans back home, brought the Jamestown colonists the wealth they had originally desired. On another positive note, they set up a governing body at Jamestown called the House of Burgesses, where men whom the colonists themselves got to elect would write laws for the whole community. This is a classic example of democratic government. Democratic comes from the Greek words for people and strength, and refers to a government that allows the people to have a say in how it's run. Finally, in the year 1620, a third wave of English colonists established a settlement named Plymouth. Located in modern-day Massachusetts, it would give these people, who had been attacked back in England for their religious beliefs, a place to worship freely. Unfortunately, because Plymouth was located so far north on the American coast, the temperatures there were quite low. During the first winter, many of the colonists froze to death. At Roanoke and Jamestown, violent conflict with the local Native American tribes had claimed even more lives, but the colonists at Plymouth made peace with their neighbors. The Wampanoag tribe signed an official peace treaty with the Plymouth settlement, and a man named Squanto taught the colonists there how to grow new crops like corn. That fall, the colonists at Plymouth shared a massive feast with their Native American neighbors, which we still commemorate today on the holiday of Thanksgiving. The colonists at Plymouth experienced the good that could come from a peaceful coexistence with the First Nations. Sadly, many other Europeans would not follow in their footsteps.